So just a reminder of our group discussion. We include any insights or what we've learned, any relevance to us and our personal applications, and of course, our reflections. So, and I know without a doubt that that will take place today. All right, so we did our reading, and mostly our reading, of course, is around King Solomon. So the big picture, our theme for this week was the secrets of success. I think we all would like to know that. And we talked about the great King David. He has now passed away, and all of Israel was watching as its third and last king of the United Kingdom comes to the throne. Though the majesty of David's kingdom was remarkable, the riches and rule of Solomon quickly surpassed him. No king on earth has ever experienced the abundance of God's blessing like Solomon, who astounded all with his wisdom and his wealth. And then people from surrounding nations came to visit him to see if they could pinpoint the reason for his great success. So let's get talking. So our resource sheet for this week starts with 4 steps to ensure success. So here are the 4 steps that took place. First, of course, we talk about Solomon rids himself of his enemies. Solomon sought wisdom over wealth. His primary task was the temple, and Solomon was obedient to God. So let's talk about any one of those 4. If you want to start the first, go through, or anywhere you want to go. So let's hear what your thoughts were, your opinions about Solomon ridding himself of his enemies. He asked for, God asked him for whatever he wanted. He could have asked for anything. And of course, most kings would have asked for wealth, more wealth than what they already have. But he did not. He asked for wisdom, eternal wisdom, and that was granted. And of course, the magnificent temple that he followed through with on his father's wishes. David comes up quite a lot in the section that we read, and you can see where there was some overlap there. And then Solomon's obedience to God. So that's where, our session ended on Solomon. So we'll pick him up next time we go back to Kings. Gwen, your thoughts?
I think that Solomon's obedience. I asked my question: is his obedience to God, or is his obedience to his dad, or
Hmm.
is it to God through his dad? Because David gave him quite a task. That
Yeah.
first, that the very first beginning, I thought was incredible. When David is giving Solomon his charges, and
Mm-hmm.
when he asked for wisdom, I almost feel like there was nothing else he could have asked for. His father, the way his father spoke to him, and his father told him he was wise. And in order to please his dad, the thing that he needed nothing else but wisdom. So I mean,
Mm.
it's such I think it's such a beautiful story. The
It
as
is.
it unfolds, I mean, Solomon ended up messing up, and we'll see that in a minute. But they all do. I'm not going to say
Right.
they all do. I'm going to say we all do because we're no different than they were. but um, but
Exactly.
but he really wanted to be obedient to his dad, and I believe that obedience to his father ended up his obedience to his earthly father and his heavenly father. Mhm.
I don't know if I would say obedience other than he wanted to honor his dad.
Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
like
so
that.
that's a good point. Esther.
Yeah, I agree. And because I think this is part of where I finished last week, where he got rid of all these people, Adonijah and Abiathar and all the, and I have to say, I don't know if Bernita is on right now, but she helped me in a way to understand this. It just seemed like it was just ruthless killing And when you look at these groups of people and their aversion to belief in God, accepting God as the one true living God, and equating them with that evil, it makes me able to understand it a little bit better, and why, like with David and Solomon, they just killed and got rid of all these people because they're really getting rid of all of this evil that's around him. Solomon, I totally understand, because all these people that he got rid of initially were threats to him and the kingdom, like his half brother and all of that.
Right.
But I I think I still, when I read this, I still have difficulty looking at the cruelty, it seems to me, in the killing of some of these people. And I guess in my Christian head back here, it's like, but what about all the innocent people? What about the ones who are caught up in the massive killings, who maybe haven't done anything or haven't understood yet? So I still have conflict with that, but thanks to Bernita, I can understand it better than I did. But the other thing, and as the handout points out, it makes sense, because it says before we can move forward, we must first remove that which holds us back. And
Exactly.
when you look at it in that sense, it makes total logical sense, because I think that's what's wrong with a lot of us. We're still holding on to the old grudges and the old anger and this and that and this person and that, whatever we had that we're holding on, which will not allow us to move forward. That's what we have to get rid of. So where we say get rid, Solomon got rid of his enemies, we have to get rid of that old junk, all that old mess, whatever it is.
Exactly. Thank you, Esther. Gail?
Thank you. Looking at point number one, Solomon rid himself of his enemies. When I was reading that, the first thing that kind of came to my mind was the saying that says, "Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer."
Yes.
Solomon did the opposite. Instead of keeping his enemies closer, he got rid of them because he didn't need, all that negativity and that dead weight or whatever around him. So he would be able, to go forward with, the task that he had in his heart. Also, I thought of point number two, that it says Solomon sought wisdom over wealth. I thought that was just wise in itself, in seeking wisdom, because most people wouldn't have been thinking about the wisdom. They would have been thinking about all the other tangible
Hmm.
things they would want to acquire. But just him thinking about wisdom and wanting wisdom over wealth was wise in itself.
Thank you, Gail. I agree. Kathleen?
I just have a question. Let me see if I can say the name right. Donajah.
His
He had
brother?
gone, yeah, he went to Bathsheba, I think it was,
Yes.
and asked for a wife.
Yes.
Uh, I wasn't quite sure why he was killed. You know, he ended up killing him, but I couldn't put that together. I just didn't understand. It looked like because he asked
He wanted to
for a wife,
overthrow Solomon. He wanted to be king. He was
so that
older.
was okay. Okay, because I was reading about him asking for a wife, and then I just couldn't put it together. Hmm.
Before he went to Solomon's mother, which was Bathsheba, he wanted to be king.
Right.
So he
Okay.
was in
Good morning.
opposition to Solomon from Jump Street.
Excuse me. Good morning, everybody.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Does that make,
Okay.
does
Yeah, I
that, you
have a
remember
note on
that
that,
part,
but
Kathleen?
yeah, I have it. I even have it written here, but I didn't really put that all together. It looked more like he was because he asked for a wife,
So
he was
that's
killed.
why,
But I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
yeah, Abiathar the priest and Joab, the leader of the
Right.
army, were
Right.
also killed because they
Uh-huh.
sided with his brother.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right, Miss Gwen.
Just going back up to what Esther was talking about, getting rid of the old stuff before you can move forward. It made me think about people that I've known who have been drug addicts and went through rehabilitation programs.
Mm-hmm.
They usually transplanted them from their home city to another
Mm-hmm.
city in another state, and to get them away from that crowd. So, getting rid of that old stuff really does make a whole lot of sense. We just have a different view of killing in this
Right.
21st century than
Right.
they did back in those times. Killing was looked at totally different than the way we see it, because we wouldn't even conceive of just killing your brother. Whether he's
Exactly.
a half or a whole brother, it's not something that
Right.
we consider. But he, I mean, like you said, he was trying to, he was against Solomon, even though in technical terms he was the older and he would have been the heir. However,
Yes.
he was not chosen by God. God chose Solomon, and David let Solomon know that this was God's choice. So it's a whole different set of circumstances than what
Right.
would have been the norm. But it is a whole lot to consider, and I have to agree, because what Bernita was saying helped me have a better understanding of it, because this
Right.
killing is a lot to deal with.
It is. It is. D.
Well, I'm gonna piggyback on what they're saying. You know, as I believe, I sure hope the Trump administration don't go to this passage and start reading,
Oh
because
my God.
I'm sure a lot of people he would have did this too, gotten rid of his enemies. He's getting rid of his enemies, but he's not doing it this way, and it is hard to fathom, because we wouldn't abide by, I don't know whether we would or not. I used to think we wouldn't abide by this kind of stuff happening now. I don't think that we would, but now, during this administration, during this time, all kinds of things are happening and we're sitting by and watching it. Solomon got rid of his enemies, and that was something that happened in the Old Testament that God approved of. But I don't know whether he would approve of this happening in today's world, or would he? Is my question. Or would he?
Mm-hmm.
Because every day, somebody mentioned earlier, every day I think it was Esther in the prayer, but every day I get a little upset of when I hear, uh, I don't want to hear what Trump's doing, but yet I want to hear what Trump's doing,
Right.
because I, you need to be aware, even though you don't want to hear it.
Right. Yeah. It's tough reading of what was the way of life at this
Right,
time
right.
compared to now. So
Yeah,
yeah, good point. Kathleen?
No, I was just going to say, when we think about killing our enemies, I guess you could say we kill the relationship, we end it,
Mm-hmm.
when it's not good for us. We get rid of it. So in a way, we killed that that whole setup, without
Exactly.
actually physically killing someone.
Right. Anyone else? Thoughts or comments about these 4 steps to ensure success?
Did I have my
LaShonda?
Hello, everybody. I was listening in the background when you first started, but the with Solomon and killing off his enemies, it reminded me of this examination of conscience that came from a website for my children, and it goes through the 10 commandments. And under murder is usually the one where, of course, the children and most adults roll their eyes because they're like, well, I haven't killed anybody, so of course, like, no to that one. But it said, have you ruined someone's reputation with gossip or harsh words, right? So, like, under the category of thou shalt not kill, it was all about the ways that we can kill someone's reputation. We can kill their spirit. We can, all the different things that are not necessarily physical. So
Mhm.
we can look at this and feel like that's awful. He literally killed all of his enemies. But probably many of us, well, I'll speak for myself, it's hard to have someone harm you, do you wrong, and not to go and tell somebody about it.
Mm.
And not to be, angry at them and just go da, 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 and speak on it in a way that ruins their reputation. Like how
Mhm.
much will we grow spiritually? And it's a challenge to suffer silently, right? Like as Christ did, like he was murdered, he was persecuted, and it says he opened not his mouth. Like a lamb led
Mhm.
to slaughter, he didn't say a thing. So we do this, but like not always literally murdering people, but having to speak on the situation, having to be made whole, having to be proven that we were right and they were wrong, and listen to what they did to me, and so on and so forth, and making sure the world knows about this person in their madness when most of the time they are spiritually suffering, right? So that's why they're doing the things they're doing. So to the extent that we don't pray for our enemies and forgive and allow people to do bad by us without telling the whole world, like we live in this like sense of vengeance, and we hear about it every week when they read the names of the people who were murdered in Baltimore City. Like most of
Mhm.
the time that's like some dispute over
Exactly.
gang stuff, drugs stuff, whatever the case may be. I've sat in a funeral, one of my cousins many years ago. I never will forget it. There were so many police and detectives and things at that funeral because they were scared of
Mhm.
retribution, that someone was going to come and like do something even there because it
Right.
was, gang stuff. So that's still very real in our world.
Yeah, we tend to kill with our words
Yeah.
rather than physically kill someone, but words hurt just as much. So that's true. Miss Garnetta?
I just want to say that, thinking all the way back to when um the the great flood, where um God destroyed all generations before Noah. You're
Mhm.
talking 9 or 10 generations.
Mhm.
God has been showing us that he has been getting rid of his enemies all through this Bible study. And so he may not have taken a direct sword, but he has done other things to destroy a lot of people. And you can ask yourself whether all those people were innocent before Noah or not, before the great flood, or for the Passover, or for whatever plague or all that he set upon this earth. But God has been trying to, I would say, purify his people for a very long time. And getting rid of your enemies can also be personal. It can be whatever position that you in. There are so many ways that we can kill others and
Mhm.
destroy others. We may not be doing it directly, but we have done things that have caused people to go and commit suicide. We didn't
Mhm.
do it directly, but there are things that you can do to destroy people's lives. But one thing um, that God is helping us to understand, and his response to Solomon when he dedicated that temple, he told us what was going to happen to us if we did not follow his decrees or his laws, etc.
Yes.
When man does evil, such as Donald Trump, you see that he is not following God's law. There's no way he can be following God's laws and decrees. We may not see the result of what he's doing for years to come, but I believe that there will be a day where there is some reconciliation or for what this man is doing in office. So yes, I have anxiety of listening to what he has to say, but I really don't listen. I want to know what he does as a final impact, what he signed off on to directly affect people. but I cannot listen to this man every single day, because to me, based on my reading, he is a wicked person. And based on our readings, we know what's going to happen to wicked people, and I have to put it in God's hands.
Thank you. Very good. Ms. D.
Even I have trouble trying to unmute myself. Loretta, that was very well said.
That
I
is
wanted,
wonderful.
I forgot to, oh, it's Garnetta. Sorry.
That's
Solomon sought wisdom over wealth. I wanted to say something about that. Solomon, that was like somebody said he had everything, and wisdom was the only thing that he wanted. And God was pleased that he sought wisdom. God was very pleased with that he didn't ask for anything else. You know, he got the riches of the world, the most beautiful women. He had 700 wives. I got to talk about that too later. Why do you need so many women? I can't understand. But anyway, God was pleased that he sought wisdom. He sought so much wisdom that it was his downfall too. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking, you got so much wisdom, and you know what's right, and you know what's wrong, and you know the consequences of this particular action. Then why would you do what you did? That's all I'm saying. Why? I didn't go get to that, but I just want to put that out there. God was pleased, but why?
Yeah, I think our humanness gets in the way most of the time. And speaking of his wisdom, our readings for this week starts with Solomon judges wisely. So any thoughts or comments of, and I think most of us are familiar with what Solomon did here. I don't know if we all remember that it was Solomon who was going to split the baby in half and give half to each woman
Right, right.
until the real mother spoke up. But it was, very live and personal for us to read it this week. So any thoughts about that or comments? Go ahead, Esther.
Well, I had a comment on number 2,
Go
following
ahead.
up behind D. And it's very simple. I try to keep it in the forefront of my mind. And it's always that we are in the world, but not of the world. And it's kind of like if we can keep that, as a guiding light for us, we are always going to try, like you say, we're human. We're going to stray. But
Yeah.
keeping this in mind will always lead us to seek wisdom and to listen and to seek the answers over the wealth. And the wealth can be anything. It's almost like the idols, what the idols are, not just money. It can be obsessing over certain things that we feel like we need to have in our lives, but we don't need. So, but I always think, we're of this world, we're in this world, but we don't have to be of this world.
Good point.
But what you were saying before, the question that you asked about his wisdom.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
how our week started, with him
Yeah.
using his wisdom.
Right. I thought I thought it was so interesting with the baby, because I
Yes.
remember that so clearly. And
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like if you're the one telling the truth, you're going to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what hit me with that particular example of his wisdom. So you're not going to let harm come to anything that you love or anything that you're trying to protect. So that's the first thing I thought about when you asked that question, was sacrifice.
Good point. And Miss Dolores added in the chat box a key statement that God honors those who honor him. And Solomon was a perfect example of that. So we're not going to think about what he did later, but for this week,
Yeah, with
we'll
all
stay
the
there. Go ahead, Miss Gwen.
this man was something else to learn about.
It's that story though, you know, that, and we've heard that story told over and over again in many,
Mhm.
many different in different ways and in different genres. You know, we've heard that story so much, but that being the beginning of it, you know, it's like
Yeah.
this to me was genius, you know,
Mhm.
to have the wisdom to think like that, to know that the woman who is really the mother is going to care about the child's welfare over anything, because he was taking a gamble with it, you
Mhm.
know, and the gamble played off very well. It's such a great story that, like I said, we've seen it played over in movies and books and everything, and it
Right.
with different characters, but we've seen that story a million times because it teaches us so very much about what's important, and,
Mhm.
and and having that wisdom is so much more important than
And
having
using
wealth,
it wisely.
and
Yes.
using it wisely,
Yes.
because later on he'd stop using it wisely, right? But yes, you know, and using it correct. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. LaShonda.
That's my son Isaiah's. That's one of his favorite stories. In this book, he was given as a gift at their first communion, and he absolutely loves this story. And this, you see the picture with him holding the baby up, ready to pull the sword out,
Oh
and you
my
can see
goodness.
the faces of the two mothers. And in this book, the title is "The Baby with Two Mothers." And the little
Uh-huh.
blurb underneath it says, Solomon was known for his wise judgment in difficult cases like the one with the babies. He didn't want to harm the baby. He just wanted to see how the two mothers reacted. Solomon's wisdom was a gift from God. When we need wisdom, we are encouraged to ask God to give it to us.
Amen. That is a good example. I love that. That's good. All right. Anyone else want to comment on any of these four? We'll move on if not, because I'm sure we're going to talk more.
Mhm.
And
I'll
I
say
think,
quickly,
go ahead.
right. Solomon is a wonderful example of kind of like Moses. Like you can be
Mm,
so obedient and you have this anointing over you, but it's a constant
mhm,
battle to keep that pure. It's a constant
Mhm.
battle to keep your focus on the Lord and to be
mhm.
completely motivated by what God wants. And even the best, the most anointed, you can slip. So you cannot
Right.
ever get too proud. And of course, it shows how women were what turned his head from serving the Lord. And he was so into his lust thing. But like it happens. It happens to the best of us, as they say.
Yeah, like father, like son. So be careful, Menelik. Gardetta.
I just want to say how his wisdom resulted in so much wealth.
Yes.
How
Mhm.
how people came to give him, to respect him, to admire him, and understand that what he believed in, his faith, is what was causing the wealth.
Mm-hmm.
The wealth wasn't, the wealth was initially given to him by God, but during that time, it was the reason why kings acquired that wealth, because they believed that they prayed to the gods, etc. But to me, what he showed was that was more powerful than anything, that there was only one God, not all your gods, not your golden calves, not any of that stuff. There is one God. He's the reason why I'm sitting on this throne. This wealth is, he didn't care about that wealth, people. He didn't ask for that. He had his, his the people that were working with him who made sure that he had the things he had needed on a monthly basis. But
Mm-hmm.
that wealth came to him involuntarily. And I think, I agree with Gwen. I mean, it was just a beautiful story. I mean,
Thank you. I agree with that. Miss Loretta.
Good morning, everybody. I love the story as well. And it was to me, a wide range of factors that contributed to his success, but they just like several people have said already, especially related to Trump, that there was a lot of practicality and learning from his failures and his successes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a hard worker. He was dedicated. He probably undoubtedly calculated some risks as to how he was going to get this thing done. That's why I favored, what's his name? Huram, Huram, the one that did, it should be a book about him.
He did the bronze.
Yes.
Is he the
He
one?
did
Okay.
so much work
Yeah,
for
Yes.
the
he did.
temple. And to go back to Solomon, he prioritized and what he wanted to do. He managed it. He had the clear goal of what he wanted to accomplish. He provided the direction by the way he disseminated jobs to everybody. He just embraced the challenge.
Yes, he did.
He embraced the challenge and he persevered. I'm just so sorry that he didn't have he had like an unwavering faith, but at the end he didn't have that self-belief. That didn't he think something was going to happen to him after all the proverbs and all the short think about that. All
Yeah.
the proverbs and things that he said, and I'm like, at the end, didn't you believe even a word that you said? So I'm like,
Yeah.
is this
And he
really
had three.
is it a myth? Now that at one point that word came into my mind, because I'm saying you did all this and really you didn't believe that this was going to happen to you. And so this man, and somebody mentioned about I heard D say why he had to have those 700 wives and concubines. I say D, he was good at improving relationships. That's all I can say. He had some strong social skills. And
So,
he
is that what
he
you
must
call
have,
it?
I don't know what his shape was like, but he must have some good body language too to build confidence in those women to want to be with him.
Oh my
But
goodness.
anyhow, it was just
That's hilarious.
it was his continuous learning and seeking new knowledge, and just he adapted to everything to just keep it going until the temple was complete. So it was a beautiful story.
Good
Okay.
point. Thank you, Miss Loretta. Miss Gretchen.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to piggyback on what LaShonda was talking about the journey that we all take and this how we slip. But when we read about the Bible characters, everybody slipped from time to time. Although now we look at them as God-fearing characters and God blessed them, like you said, Moses, David, the prophets, everybody except Jesus.
There you go.
So we have to keep that in mind, especially for me and my own pilgrimage, that I'm not going to be perfect and I'm going to slip.
That's right. That's right.
The only one of us that did not is Jesus. So I just
You're
wanted to
right.
add that.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Gretchen.
You're welcome.
Unmute. I just wanted to add that for me, I'm looking at 1 Kings 3:7. That just refines Solomon. It says, "But I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Your servant is here among the people you have chosen, a great people too numerous to count or number. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours?" And God proceeded to go on and bless him abundantly with the wisdom and everything else that came with it. That's my comment.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, and the point was, I also wanted to bring up his age because he was young when he took on the kingship. So he's not an old person at all doing all this. Miss
Somebody
Gail.
needs to mute.
One of the things that stood out in my mind as he was getting things together, the materials and everything that he needed to build the sanctuary and stuff of God, he was international trade. He knew that he didn't have what he needed, but he knew, that it was in another area. So Hiram, I think is his name. He um he provided Solomon with the things that he needed in to build in exchange for Solomon providing them food. And I say it's international trade in that they had to haul all the materials sort of across the Mediterranean Sea,
Yes.
across the raft to and float by sea to get it to Solomon. So to me, that's sort of like international trade back then. And he didn't apply any tariffs over him, and he didn't force him. They just had they made a treaty, for between one another, so they could complement and one another. So I thought, that was very, very interesting. And then another thing that I thought was interesting was that the workers that it said that he used the foreigners, it was like 153,000 of them,
Mhm.
and they all had jobs. Some of them were carriers, some were stone cutters, and then there were the foremen. So everybody had a job toward the, building of the temple.
Yes. Very good. Thank you. So it's sort of like his father. Remember that David included everyone. They had a role to play in his kingdom. So Solomon sort of did the same, and he included the foreigners. So good point. All right, let's look at the next piece of the prophetic passages. Solomon's prayer, and this was when he was dedicating the temple. I don't know about you, but I don't know if I could pray this long and this hard. It's from verse 22 to 53. You know how many pages did it take up? Almost 2 whole pages of our text. And I just thought that's magnificent to be able to pray like that. And he's praying for his people. He wasn't praying for himself. And then God's response to Solomon was a warning. So, but Solomon in his prayer, he's bringing up stuff for the future. So he's foreshadowing that his people will be banished from that land. So, and God's warning to Solomon, yeah, it's going to happen. So God knew it was going to happen. So there you go. Any thoughts or comments about either one of those two things? Go ahead, Miss Loretta. You fighting with that mute button? Miss Garnetta, go
Sorry
ahead.
about that. I'm
Oh, there
I'm
she is.
here. No, I say
Oh,
I was just going to say that the passages, it was just phenomenal to read. Um and it just outlines the conditions of God's blessings and the blessings for Israel.
I agree.
And it talks about um God's glory, how God would guide them,
Mhm.
his guidance, his the wisdom that you can gain from which was Solomon's main characteristic, the wisdom that you can gain from just obeying God.
Yes.
And it talks about the forgiveness, his mercy, but most of all, that God, at the beginning of when we talked about John, it says, I am who I am. He's all sovereign. So it talks more about his sovereignty. And that's why I keep going back to what is wrong with this man? You knew all this, you prayed this day in and day out, and what happened to you? I'm like, that, okay, next
Yeah.
person.
Miss Gardetta.
I don't know what she's talking about.
So I don't know what
I'm
happened to
just
that
kidding.
man.
I understand you, sister. But what I get out of this is that he's asking God really to forgive the Israelites and to listen to the foreigners when they come before him. And it's like he's trying to cover everything that they could possibly do to sin. You know, if the people of Israel sin, and they turn back to you, God, but it has to be with all their heart. Please forgive them. And he says this over and over again in his dedication. So he's trying to prevent God from destroying Israel, really, um, because, but he's only saying that for people who will come before God and pray and ask for forgiveness. I thought, you know, if he's dead today or tomorrow, upholding his cause, upholding what his father taught him, and upholding what he has put in place all these many years, is please don't destroy Israel. They're going to sin. I know they're going to sin, and you know they're going to sin. But God, if they come before you to ask for forgiveness, please forgive them.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very good. Miss Gretchen?
Oh, I was going to say that when we look at the whole Bible, and we were talking about how Solomon was warned, God warned him that the people were going to sin and they were going to fall. And it didn't take long, because in the next generation of kings, Solomon's son, is where the entire nation divided, you know, and then thereafter, all of the people, the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah, they were taken captive, you know, and all the prophets warned that this was going to happen, that Israel was going to sin, and nobody stopped to listen to the prophets.
Right.
But later, you know, so God was giving us warnings the whole time, but Israel just refused to obey, refused to repent and to obey God. But with all the prophets, think about Jeremiah. Boy, he had a hard time. He cried and cried. They put him in a cistern, and you know, all of this was already, well, God warned them, and he warned them through the prophets, and it happened until Jesus.
Yeah, I think that's kind of true today too. Thank you. Miss D.
Yeah, you're right. It's true today too. Warnings, Gretchen. They've been warning us since the time beyond. God has been warning us. Moses spent all his time warning us, and I think that sometimes people get tired of being warned. They just want to do what they do. You know, that this wasn't what I was going to say, but that just reminded me, Gretchen, that my 2000, my son died, and him and I, we had a tumultuous relationship. He was always getting in trouble. And I mean, from elementary school to middle school to high school, the teachers and the principal knew my face because I was always called to come up here. And, you know, and I should be looking at things today, it's totally different, you know, the way he could have got shot or whatever, but that didn't happen. You know, he was always in trouble, but it wasn't like that. And, but he died in 2000. And he said to me, Mom, you did all you could do. I just had to do what I wanted to do. I had to do what I wanted to do. And you know, sometimes even though we know the rules, we just got to do what we feel like doing. And if that's sin, then that's what we feel like we need to be doing. And even though we are warned, we know the Ten Commandments, we know all this stuff, and and I think that gets into our play later. But I just wanted to say about the prayer that you talked about earlier. That's why I came on. Is about the prayer.
Uh-huh.
I didn't think the prayer was that long. I mean, it's written. You know, when you read it, it is. But when you're standing there, I don't know whether like today they write everything down. I don't know whether it was written down or it came. The Holy Spirit filled them up. And sometimes when that fills you up, it's not doesn't seem as long when you're up there. When you up there, he's
Right.
trying to cover all the baby. He's giving God the thanks and the praise. He's thanking him for keeping his promise to his father. And and he's also warning the people, this is what God wants, this is what we should do. And sometimes, and I can remember this, when you're young and you're so full of wanting to please everyone. Your
Mm-hmm.
father, he's got God, he wants to please. He's new to you. Think about this now. He's new to being a king. So he wants to please the people. So yes, he's going to do everything right. And down the line, he's going, now I'm going to do what I want to do. Now I'm going to do what I feel like I want to do. And I think that's what happened to not just him, to a lot of us.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
when we get older, we feel like I done did everything my mother wanted me to do, my father wanted me to do. Now I think I'm going to live my life. And your life can be a little not what it was supposed to be. So I'm just saying the prayer to me wasn't that long, but
Okay.
I think he did all he had to do and say all he had to say to God. I think God was pleased with the prayer that he gave.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Miss Gwen?
I just want to give a ditto on what Dee was saying, when we look at ourselves, because he had, with Dee and Gretchen, because he did have all these warnings. He did have all these things that he could say, well, I know better in hindsight. But and we have over 2,000 years. Really, they're looking at about what 900 BC or so on that timeline. I love that they give us a timeline on this on this
Mm-hmm.
book, on this paper. And so we're looking at like 3,000 years of hindsight, and we haven't learned, you know, that we keep making the same mistake over and over. And I guess it is just that we have to do what we're going to do. And as simple as
Yeah.
that.
We were given the freedom of choice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All
Human
right.
frailty. Human frailty.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next part. We've talked about our reading in Kings, but also we read, Chronicles again is repeating some of the information, but not all. So anyone notice any differences between reading Kings versus Chronicles? Um,
I do.
I noticed something. Go ahead, Miss Allen.
Yeah, I wanted to question that. It seems as if Kings was more condensed than
Uh-huh.
Chronicles. Was that purposely, was it done purposely, or, can someone elaborate on that for me? Because Chronicles was these real long ones, and then, Kings was like,
Which was the opposite of what we had before when we were
exactly,
reading the first book of Chronicles was very
exactly.
short and condensed.
Chronicles,
They took out a lot of those details. But this
exactly.
time there were details included in Chronicles that were not in Kings. And I agree with you. They were longer passages. Um, I don't know the answer to that one. That's a Father Rich question, unless someone else has a thought about that of why Chronicles was so much longer this time around, Second Chronicles. And it could be why it was divided into two books.
Yeah,
Because
probably.
here they put a lot more information. Like, for example, in chapter 2, they talk about Solomon not only built the temple, he was also building his home, a palace, at the same time. So Kings didn't mention that. Chronicles did. And then and even in the message to King Hiram with the supplies that he needed, Chronicles list a lot of those details. And then Solomon even went in his message to him talked about the offerings that he was going to provide and the festivals they were going to celebrate. That's why he needed all of these materials to build that temple the way it was going to be built. Um, like in First Kings chapter 6 just has the basic plan. But then in Chronicles chapter 3, you got all these minute details about the temple, which made me want to go see what this temple actually looked like. So anybody else have any thoughts about those two, Kings and Chronicles, or you ready to move on?
I asked a question and I did send it to Father Rich because I wanted to understand why there was so much detail and description on the making of the palaces and everything, the type of wood, the type of materials, and why they went into such description. And he did explain to me that, given the time that it was, they were very proud of their church
I'm
and
sorry, I
their
can't
buildings.
hear. I'm sorry, I cannot hear
Come
what
closer to your microphone, Miss Allen.
Oh, I did say, I did ask Father Rich, I sent him an email about that, asking the questions, why they went into such detail and description of what it cost, and not the cost, but the type of materials. And he said it was because it was the time, they were proud of their religion and proud of their, the buildings that they were making. So
We're
this is
still
how
not
he
hearing
explained it
you.
to me.
We're still
Well,
not hearing you clear.
Yeah, we're still not hearing what you're saying.
Something is
okay.
still on.
Well, I have my phone up, I have it up.
I know,
I'll
but you
put it up some more, but
When
and I'm
when
on
you
front of
moved
it.
up closer, it was better.
All the way up. Okay. All right, but it was just my thoughts. I just did ask Father Rich about that. He explained it to me, so thanks.
Right, but
Um,
I would like to know what Father Rich said, but I just can't hear you. Is it any way
right.
you can put it in the chat?
Can you type it in the chat, Miss Allen, or copy and paste it from the email and put it in the chat box? And then I'll read it for everyone. Thank you. Miss Margaret?
Her hand is up, but we can't get her.
Yeah.
Margaret, unmute yourself. Well, when you figure that out, we'll come
Yeah,
back.
go ahead, Miss Loretta. When you get it, Miss Margaret, just go ahead and start talking.
Can you hear
Okay.
Miss Loretta?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, good. Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say. Y'all were talking about Solomon. He was just, God blessed him in with wisdom and knowledge and understanding. But he did it. I think it just went to his head after a while because he gained so much riches from other people, and we as humans sometimes do that.
Yeah.
Even to the day, you get so much you feel like you're better than everybody else. Some people do that, but that was and I think that's the reason why God sent Jesus to save everybody, and the people still ain't got it right.
Yes.
You're right, Miss Margaret.
Still ain't got it right. But
Miss
you just
Loretta?
have to continue to pray for everybody that one day it'll get right. Maybe not in our lifetime, but maybe in the next generations.
Yes.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Wow. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
About the person who was asking about Kings and Chronicles,
Yes.
King's verse. I was reading that they both recounted the history of the Israelite kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
They offered different perspectives and purposes, of course, which was already mentioned, but it says Kings emphasizes the failings of the kings and the nation's disloyalty to God, leading to exile, while Chronicles, on the other hand, focuses on the positive aspects of the Davidic monarchy and the hope for a restored kingdom. So, whichever one is longer, that's what they put more emphasis on.
Thank you. All right, so that part, let's go on. I don't know why my mouse is not working. And this led me to looking for pictures and videos.
I know this is pretty.
So beautiful.
This
This is pretty.
was a picture I found, but if you look in the background, can you see up here in the upper left-hand corner?
Let me see.
Yeah.
This looks like a museum or someone's home that
Oh,
built this.
Yeah,
Can
it
you
looks like it's on a
imagine?
table. Looks like it's on a table.
Yes.
What?
So I imagine this was made for us to come and see someplace. But
I
just
think it was,
look.
I'm thinking that I went to the Holy Land in Florida, and they had something like this on a table,
Yes.
Really?
and we walked around to see it. It was like the whole city of Jerusalem on the table, and I think this
Okay.
might be there or somewhere like that that they, that they had that, and it was really, really pretty. And I just want to say one thing, that the video that you sent has a beautiful picture of what's inside.
Mm-hmm.
You have time to see one of those
Yeah,
videos.
I have a shorter one I want to show. So
It showed that was so beautiful looking in that.
yeah.
How they put together.
But what was fascinating to me was the palace and all these other buildings were
Right.
also included.
Yes. Yeah. It was. Yeah.
So, and this was just a diagram that I found, and I said this was interesting, but the writing, on the side, they were too small for me. I needed a magnifying glass. But you can see where the altar for the burnt offerings and the basins for the washing of the priest and the items that were used. See the stairs leading up to the most holy place. And then it also shows the windows. I thought that's fascinating to me. And then where they had storage for all of the things that were kept in the temple. I was like, wow. All right, let's see if I can get to the video. I may have to stop share and see if I could get it to come up. Let me go back. It may work from the PowerPoint, so.
Good morning, everybody. I meant to say good morning to everybody. I'm kind of late today.
Good morning.
Good morning. But
Good
you're
morning.
here.
Good morning.
Okay.
So I have to say, Father Rich has become expert at jumping in and out of these things real fast, and I haven't gotten there yet. But whenever I do it, when I do it in the PowerPoint, I have to make sure that once I have put it in the PowerPoint, I have gone down to the next line so that it is in there as a hyperlink. And then when I want to share it, I go out of the share like you had done and pull it up and then go back into the
Are you
share.
not seeing the video?
No,
we see the
we don't see
PowerPoint.
the video.
Don't see the video.
We
All
don't see
right.
the video.
We see the PowerPoint with the link.
Because I'm watching the video.
Oh, well,
Oh,
none of us
wow.
is-
Oh, that's why you didn't say anything.
Yeah, that's why she's quiet.
All
Yeah.
right. Let me go back.
Share. You have to put it on share, Lenore.
It was on. I was watching the
There
video.
it is. Something you can put up.
Okay. So
That's
let
your
me see.
email or something.
Can you see it now?
No.
No, I
we
think we're
see the
looking at your.
Okay.
Your computer screen.
It's
They
your
see your-
screen.
All right, let me go back.
I'm gonna see Marcus' name, my name.
Uncertain given
All right, let's try it again.
disregard for even legal status.
Maybe you got hit the
Sounds-
link that's on there.
The
I
Solomon
did.
Temple DVD.
And it came back
that
to the
link again.
PowerPoint.
Hit the link again. See if it come in.
Can you hit the link on that page?
Illegal or of
It
Maybe
never
why it's
seems
not
to
coming
work
up.
when I hit the link on that page.
Oh, that's a bummer.
All right,
May 20th.
this is what I want to share. Don't tell me it's not going to come up.
Did you
How
get
about
it?
now?
That might work.
No, did you get it from YouTube?
Yes,
Maybe you go to YouTube and pull it up and hit it, and we'll see
I
it.
am.
'Cause
Oh,
all we see is your computer page and a sheet that says Solomon's Temple 3D.
okay, let me stop again.
Is this the one that you sent us?
No, it's a shorter one.
Okay.
And I don't know why it's not sharing. I've tried several different ways. Let me try one more time. Okay, do you see this page?
Yep, we see the page.
Okay.
I thought it was going to work because when you hit the link, you know, like Gwen was seeing with the hyperlink, it looked like it changed colors.
Okay.
So, but it's
It
still,
says I am screen sharing, but this
yeah,
not coming up again?
No,
no.
it's not.
What you're screen sharing is Solomon's Temple 3D with a link below it.
So if you go out of screen share, when you go to when it shows your desktop or whatever it is, and you have all your choices. So if you get the video started and then hit screen share
All right,
and
let me
hit
try
that,
that.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Okay. Let's try it again.
Father Rich needs to conduct a class in how to do this.
I
Or
agree because
Valerie.
he can jump back and forth very quickly.
No, it's not.
See, as long as that's up there while it's being shared,
Can you
it will go.
minimize your Word document? Because what we're seeing is the Word document. So can you minimize it so it's not being seen? Because
Hold
your
on, let me see.
yeah, see if your video might be behind all that. So you minimize that and then go to your video, bring that up, and make sure that's what's selected. And then
It's
share.
not coming up in my my share items as something by itself. So it's not going to work. So
Oh, can you highlight the link, then go to your Google line and actually copy it there and enter it to bring up the video and then share it. But make sure that Word document is minimized because that's the first thing that seemed like wants to come up because it's probably what's being selected.
no, it's I don't know. I worked before,
Okay, well,
so
maybe you can just copy the link and put it in the
Yeah,
chat.
copy the link and put it in the URL line, where you actually would normally type it in. Just copy it there, enter it so it can bring up the video.
No,
Copy
it's
that
not
link.
coming up.
Do a copy paste. You're going to do a copy paste. Now go to Google, minimize that Word document. You'll click on that little minus sign in the top right-hand corner and go to Google and actually paste it in the URL line and enter. She'll bring up the video.
Mhm.
No luck.
Nope. Too
Okay,
much
wait a
time
minute.
on
Wait a minute.
technology.
You may have it now.
There you go.
You got it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's there.
Perfect.
Soundless Temple.
Only
There
took
you
me
go.
5 minutes.
Soundless Temple.
Everybody, please mute yourself so we can hear it.
It's just music.
And D, I think I have muted everyone.
Okay. Where I'm not hearing any music. The sound's not coming up. Are you all hearing the sound?
No, the pictures are pretty, but I don't hear no
No, but
sound.
the pictures are self-evident, really.
I'm trying to turn my sound up. Maybe it's mine. Nope. Really pretty. That's pretty. Queen Holy. Why is she up there? She's on mute though.
We know where all the gold went.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Everything was gold.
That was beautiful.
That's
Yep.
amazing.
That it was just music while you were watching it, but I'll send that link to Father Rick so you can send it out to everyone as well. So you can have that. But I just thought that was just fascinating. So, and as someone said, now you see where all the gold went.
Yeah, I heard that.
It was
Yeah.
simply beautiful. Miss Allen, you have your hand up.
Oh, I just wanted to let you know I did put the information in the chat. So
Okay, all right, let's go to that before I forget. And I see LaShonda, you put a link in as well. And I don't see it, Miss Allen. Did you hit the enter button so it would come? Try to send it again. And while you do that, let's go to Miss Gwen. You have your hand up.
I just wanted to comment, I mean, even without having any audio, how remarkable was clear to see. I just can't even imagine being in the presence of that kind of beauty. I mean, I can't even picture it. People I know who have gone to Dubai, it sounds like what you might see in Dubai, where everything seems to be made of gold.
Thanks, Miss Gretchen.
One of the things that I was looking for in that tour was I was looking for the curtain or the veil that separated the Holy of Holies from the other part of the temple. Was it there? Did I miss it?
They had doors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless
And
my
the other
thought was the curtains were in front of the door.
Yeah, in the other video you had, they had a veil. There is a veil in that other video.
Yeah, the one that's like 10 minutes longer.
Mm.
They have the curtains there.
Yeah,
Okay.
Look at that one, because that one did have I did see a veil in that one. As you go further in, past those doors, there was a veil. And then I just want to say the building itself, the beauty it was. I mean, the carvings, everything was. I wouldn't be able to move if I walked in there because it was so awesome. They wouldn't let me in, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't be able to move because it would been overwhelming, the beauty of it. I don't even know how they worked in that. I guess they got used to it.
And Miss Garnetta?
Oh, I just want to thank you for that video. It just brought these handouts you gave us to life. But that it was just remarkable. And like Gwen said, we didn't need the audio. It was really beautiful just to watch it.
Thank you. I did find another picture view. Is this one showing?
Yes, this showing.
Yes,
But I wanted to ask, the mock-ups of the Solomon's Temple, I believe Dee says she saw. Did you see one in Florida? Dee?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell me where that is?
Well, they don't have it anymore because I saw that it was like they have SeaWorld. It was near SeaWorld.
Oh, okay.
Disneyland. It had a whole. I'm telling you, we went. My husband, we took my granddaughter. She was little then, and my two daughters. We went to the Holy Land. They had a thing they call Holy Land down there, and we went there. And it was the hottest day of the year, must have been. And they did a whole procession of Jesus. The crucifixion, the passion. They did a whole thing of that, and which was simply awesome. They did that, and they did, and then you had a building you went into, and then they had a model of Jerusalem on a table, and you could walk around and see that, and the temple.
Okay.
But I read that.
Awesome.
I read that's no longer there. The place is no longer there anymore. I guess it.
And I was fascinated by the sea that holds the 3,000 baths. And when I looked up and saw that one bath equals 6 gallons, I mean, these priests had to go through this ritual to go into this temple every time before. I mean, washing themselves in this bath, but how I can imagine how huge this thing was. I'm assuming that sea is made of gold too, was it?
That was bronze.
Oh, that was bronze.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Stacy, I see your hand.
Right. Stacy.
Yes. Hello. So I just wanted to say the video that you showed, like everyone was saying, you really didn't need the any kind of music to it because it was just beautiful going through and seeing. But there was a video. I thought that was a video that you were going to show. I think it came this morning from Father Rich.
Yes.
It was attached. That video was absolutely beautiful because that actually discussed and told you every detail of the temple, and why they chose to use pomegranates, and different things of
Right.
Right.
why they were building it and how it was built directly over an old stone
Mhm.
and things like that. So just hearing how and why they chose
Mhm.
to build the temple where they built it, that was a nice story as well.
Yeah, that's why I wanted everyone to have that one because it was longer and it
Mhm.
had more of an explanation. But the
Yep.
one that I just showed, it just had it was just up close vision of it.
Yeah,
And
it was
then
almost like we did a walkthrough ourselves.
right. And it was
Right.
in 3D. So I was like, well, I got to show that one.
Yes, it was.
Elizabeth, I
LaShonda,
Yeah.
did send it to you directly, excuse me. So I don't know if you got it.
let's see if it came this time. No. I can ask Father Rich to send it to us. So when I can email him and tell him to send it to the whole group. So that way
Okay,
we'll have it.
okay.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Sure.
LaShonda?
I was about to say I'm all tearing through my email like I don't see any video or anything for the rich, so I didn't get it. But
It
there's
was in the link for today.
oh, see, my husband gets them. I need to get on the list so I can see them.
Oh,
Um,
okay. All right. So
not just
I'll
to get
tell him
them
that as
today.
well. But
But
this
there's
drawing that I have up, and it shows the temple and palace complex that Solomon built on Mount Moriah. The main
oh
entrance was through the Hall of Pillars, which was flanked by the throne hall on the right, where Solomon judged, and the armory called the House of the Forest of Lebanon on the left. In the center of this complex is the palace called Solomon's House, which had a separate wing for his wife, Pharaoh's daughter. From a large courtyard in front of Solomon's house, a special royal ascent led up to the temple, which lay on higher ground. So I thought, oh, wow. I said, I got to show this. But the writing and the diagram were from two different things that I found, but I thought that was pretty neat as well. So I just wanted to show that one. And we're running out of time. So let me go back. And we did not get to talk about the Psalms, but I want you to think about the two Psalms that were included in our readings for this week, what they meant to you and the impact they may have had for you, as well as the Proverbs 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you haven't gone back to read Proverb 1, it gives us directions of what the whole point of Proverbs were for. So if you haven't read chapter 1, the beginning of chapter 1 gives you that information of why we have these Proverbs and what's the point of the Proverbs.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting that it says the Proverbs of Solomon, son of David. So he always acknowledges his father. His father is first and foremost in his mind. Miss D?
Yeah. Mentioning Proverbs 1 to 7, I highlighted that
Mm-hmm.
because that made sense to me. He giving you all the instructions of what you're reading in these proverbs for, and I thought that was very instrumental to us understanding what this was about, and that was cool.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. And our closing prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear loving Father, we thank you profoundly for the illuminating wisdom and insight gained during our time of delving into your word. We feel incredibly blessed to have the opportunity to learn more about your love, grace, and truth. May we use what we have learned to be better people and better followers of Jesus. It is in his name I pray. Amen. Let us pray
Amen.
together the words that Jesus taught us. Our
Our
Father,
Father,
who
who
art
art
in
in heaven,
heaven, Hallowed be thy
Hallowed be
name.
thy name.
Thy
Thy
kingdom
kingdom
come.
come.
Thy will be
Thy
done
will be
on
done
earth
on earth
as it is in heaven. Give us
Give
this
us
day our daily bread, and
and
forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not
not
into
into temptation,
temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever